Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Redseapodcast. This is episode 60, and once again, this is a late night one. What a day to be an Olympiacos fan, of course, as we just saw. Couldn't agree more on the great win today, and that's exactly what I was going on to say, as we just saw Olympiacos beat Panathinaikos to qualify to the semi-finals of the Greek Cup with one of the best goals I've ever seen, and I think that isn't in the slightest bit a stretch from Christos Mouzakitis. And then Olympiacos went on to beat Paris in the EuroLeague to once again solidify their top and lonely place in the EuroLeague. Today's show, as you all have seen, will cover the football as the basketball will be covered in a combined show after the Barcelona game on Friday. But yeah, where to start? Where to even start? What a win. There is a poll in the chat for those of you that are watching live for you to vote who was your MVP for today. I keep saying it, but I wanna do it this time, and I think I'll have the time to sit my ass down and make the graphs for the player ratings tomorrow for today's game, and that's gonna start to include the fans MVP, which will be voted every live uh, by the aforementioned poll that I placed in the chat. So yeah, starting off, honestly, I think it's fair to say that it was a very uneventful game to start off with. Olympiacos again getting into the derby as well as they could, just getting there, getting right to the end, but getting this close from scoring and yet not scoring. A lot of missed chances, whether that's from Ayub El Gabi, who didn't have the best of games, whether that's from Zelson Martins, who once again didn't have the best of games, especially that final ball kept on and troubling us again and again after chance. Uh, Especially a chance that I can massively recall, two chances that I can massively recall for the aforementioned two players. Nothing specific on them, but just an example of the big amount of chances that we missed. Uh, is the Ayub El Gabi miscontrolled ball with what was basically an open net. The Zelson Martins one-on-one, where he ended up getting beaten by Ingerson. And of course, that was way later on in the game, in the 82nd, the missed penalty where Ayub El Gabi sent that to the post. Panathinaikos, I think it's a fair shout to say that Panathinaikos did absolutely nothing. They didn't have a single chance on target, if I'm not terribly mistaken. Paschalakis, I think, had the the easiest day on the job, excuse that, that he could have honestly asked for. Paschalakis, who did do his best to make it as hard for himself as possible sometimes, but that's a whole different story that we are going to get into, especially with those two major mistakes. One being from Paschalakis, the other one being from David Carmo, where Paschalakis was absolutely nowhere to be found. Uh, and yeah, the first half, again, uneventful and more or less mediocre, I think it's safe to say. But going into the second half, especially after 10, like from the 35 to the 45, then very on the verge of hard to watch minutes. Going into the second half, starting off with a change that proved to be quite the important change as Biancon got subbed in for Panos Rechos. Thank you and hi to you too. Thank you very much. As I said, what a win that's caught the eye of everyone, as should a derby of this importance. But yes, as I was saying, good help Rechos being okay. I haven't really heard much, to be honest. But Biancon came in praying that it was for precautionary reasons, but Biancon once again proving how vital he is to this team and how absolutely underappreciated he is to this team. Because after winning us a penalty that, yes, okay, the penalty went on to be almost devastatingly missed by Ayub El Kabi, but that doesn't matter anymore. Uh, he immediately got up and hyped up the fans to hype up mostly Ayub to go on and score the penalty, which he didn't. But again, the passion that Biancon shows, he is not only the best transfer that's come to us from Nottingham Forest. I think that's easily the best transfer to come to us from Nottingham Forest. And I'm not gonna sit here and count David Carmo, because of course Carmo was here on loan from Porto last season and now he's here on loan with Nottingham's help. But out and out transfer from Nottingham, I don't think there is anyone close. And I will go on and quote Gav on something he said on Twitter. He sadly was too busy with work. I He did his best to make some time for this show, but he couldn't, and that's more than okay. Gav is much appreciated by me, and he knows that, and he is much appreciated by all of you, and he knows that, and he'll be back as soon as he possibly can. But yeah, moving on from that, I will quote him in saying, because I do agree that Julian Biancon is one of the best personalities that we've had in this club in general. The love he's shown, not only now where he's able to show his abilities on the football field as well and get chances in the team, but ever since last year, for example, in the whole European journey, I can recall personally as well the things he did in the celebrations when we qualified against Villa, having been in the stadium and having seen it myself. The passion and the love he's shown for this club, combined with now the chances he's getting under Mendili Barent, having solidified himself, I think it's safe to say, as our third choice centre back. It's not only is it all truly admirable, but it's so deserved. And no matter the chances that may come from all of this, I think that Julian will always be one of the players that just goes a bit under the radar regarding appreciation from the fans. And despite that appreciation growing more and more, I think it will always be just that bit under what it should be. Uh, Regarding David Carmo, as mentioned, David Carmo had one of the most confusing games. Uh, I think I land on David Carmo and Rechos, of course, also, but it's not really fair to say Rechos had uh, an underwhelming game in general because he did get injured and he did have a good game up until he got injured. David Carmo had a good game as well. There isn't really any major complaints on his end, but there was just a little span of like 15, 20 minutes where he got caught lagging a bit too much. But again, no harm done. And in general, he had a very good and demanding game, as he usually does in the bigger games. I just hope that he starts doing that in the smaller games as well. Uh, our two fullbacks, Francisco Ortega and Rodinei. Ortega and Rodinei not really up to the standard that we're used to them. Again, not saying that they've had a bad game in the slightest, because in my opinion, no one really had a bad game. Uh, but again, not up to the standard that we are used to them being, especially lately, I'd say. Roddy in general, but Ortega especially lately, where he has had that very, very good run of games. Um, but yeah, again, not a bad game, but one Valladolid successful dribble here, one misplaced corner there. Mediocre, not necessarily mediocre, just more on the quiet, which is okay like once in a while, especially for Roddy. But yeah, that's more or less it. Now, the midfield duo, Santiese and Christos Mouzagitis. I'll start off with Santiese because Mouzagitis deserves a full-on segment for himself. Santi, I've kept on saying it and I'll keep on saying it that Ese lately has just flipped that switch and found that spark again that was massively needed to be found. And after the slight dip in form, where, as I said, even when that dip in form came, even when Ese has a dip in form, he's nowhere near a bad player. He's just not that spectacular quality that we all witnessed last year. But he's back to that again. And he got back to that as fast as most of us expected him to. Once again, one of our best players for me, one of our 4 or 5 shining lights of this one that weren't just good, they were amazing for me. And yeah, and of course, my MVP by a landslide. My my MVP of the last 2 games now, and I think if he keeps this form up, we'll see a season from Musakitis that we never even expected ourselves, despite knowing that he was uh, one of our two best talents, not only coming through that youth league side, but for many years now, scoring an absolute banger. A lot of pages have posted it. I'll try and get it up as well if I find a proper video from someone. But if I showed it here, Cosmote would strike my channel to the depths of hell. I'm sure all of you saw the goal. And if you haven't, either search it up on Twitter, on Insta, or the YouTube highlights should be up soon enough. But I'll get it up as soon as I can as well. Worst case scenario, tomorrow morning. Uh, from defending to passing, he almost had 2 assists. To winning set pieces, to taking some set pieces, to the passion he showed, to his positioning, to absolutely everything. Christos Mouzakidis showing his true quality, showing that he'll have such a good career, such a successful career. He'll be one of our top prospects ever. I think that's very safe to say. Uh, and just topping all that off with an absolute wonder goal, an absolute wonder strike uh, to get us the qualification. 2 goals in a week. That's not something to overlook. Two winners in a week with a 1-0 win over at Livadia and a 1-0 win now, and half a hand on both trophies from the golden boot of an 18-year-old midfielder. I think there isn't anything that can truly describe how good Musakitis is, especially in the form that he is at right now. I just saw this question. What percentage of chance do you give Olympiacos to win a treble? A treble as in League, Cup, and Europa League. That is insane. Uh, yeah, League Cup and Europa League. Ooh, win the thing, Jesus Christ. Uh, I've said it, but for me, the league is the most important trophy this year. Not only because it's your 100 years, not only because we've gone 2 years without winning the league, but also because no matter what happens in the Europa League, uh, we'll go on to automatically qualify for next year's Champions League, which will be an insane boost regarding every aspect of this club. Uh, then the cup, it will all go down between us and I. Let's not lie to ourselves, with the other semi-final being Asteras and Ofi. As much as I would love an underdog story in the cup, I see us absolutely sweeping it. The Europa League, as much as I would love to be um, hopeful, as much as I would love to come out and say that, yeah, why, as Ayub El Gabi had said, why not win the Fajr thing? I think we'll do well. I think we may even get to the semi-finals, but I don't want to stand here and say that we are going to go on and win the Europa League. I mean, doubting the team, no. Uh, but it's logic versus emotion, if that makes sense. Even if I stand here and say that we can win the Europa League, it's still insane in my brain that, and that goes on to credit from the top person to the bottom person of Olympiacos, that we can sit here and discuss that Olympiacos has even the most outsider of a chance to go on and win a trophy like the Europa League. But I can't stand here and say that we do it. Call it not wanting to put it out in the universe, call it not wanting to jinx it, call it whatever you may want to call it. Uh, but I think a double and a very respectable run in the Europa League is what we'll say. Can I stand here and say that we'll get to the quarters? Yeah, I can. That's something I can come out and say safely, at least in my opinion. And then for me, as you all know, it's game by game. And I'll be very happy with a double. I really will be very happy with a double. Moving on with the game after that round, another person that for me deserves his own segment, uh, Andre Horta. Andre Horta starting the game at the 10, just seeing the starting 11, I think made us all ecstatic, not just happy, ecstatic. Feeling that we missed that midfield of Ese, Mouzakitis, and Andre Horta was insane to see. With Cicchini, of course, down the right, down the. Was he down the right or the left? They interswitched in the game. And Zelson down the other wing with El Cabi up top. Even seeing that in the 11, I think, made everyone extremely happy. And I think the easiest thing to say to describe what uh, Andre Horta's return was like after 6 months, but like he never left. doing everything we could have asked of him, being there constantly, covering the midfield when needed, having chances, setting up chances, everything. Back like he never left. I think that is the absolute safest thing to sit here and say. Um, do confirm if my audio is still okay because my setup froze a bit. Do tell me when you can if audio and camera froze at all or if everything's okay as I move on. But yeah, nothing much else to say about Androrda. I think it's as perfect of a return as we could have genuinely sat here and asked for. Now, on to Chiquinho. Chiquinho, again, similar to Rodney. More of a quiet game, nothing really major happening, having a few chances, setting up a few chances, missing a chance, getting eaten out by the Panathinaikos defense after an incredibly Musakitis pass. And yet, not really anything to complain about from Chiquinho. Got subbed out after a while, of course. So not having the full on 90. Let me actually confirm what he got subbed out at the 72nd for Christopher Velde. And yeah, nothing really to complain about from Chiquinho. Now on the other side, Zelson Martins. Zelson Martins, you'll know how much I love Zelson as a player. You all know how much I admire Zelson as a player, his ability, and he showed his ability again today, especially, for example, with that control of the ball mid-air. But that final decision, whether it's a pass, whether it's a shot, for example, that one-on-one that he got beaten by Ingerson, just wasn't there today, and it's not been there for a bit. Do I believe that he will bounce back and show the Selson that we all know and love? Yes, like SN, like everyone going through a dip of form. But it needs to happen, and it needs to happen relatively fast, in my opinion, at least. And up above, and Ayub El Kabi, of course. Uh, no real chances given to him, if that makes sense. He wasn't presented with any real passes. His positioning was a bit off, and his runs were a bit off today. I think he got called offside 3 times, if I'm correct. Not really the killer instinct that we're used to, but that's okay. The only real complaint that I may have, I may have had at least from Ayub is the missed penalty, of course. Uh, and whatever happens to him and his form against Panathinaikos, I don't know why. But again, no harm done. It's El Kabi, it's our most prolific striker ever. He'll bounce back in absolutely no time. Apart from Julian Bianco now, the two other subs were Kostulas and Christopher Velde. Velde not having the uttermost amount of time to do absolutely anything today. Uh, but again, showing up in that improved form that he showed up in the past few games. I will give a shout out to the boys over at Thrylos 7 International for pointing out that it took him a while to get settled in Lake Poznan as well, but he did fire up after a while. And I really hope the same happens here. And we are seeing glimpses of that, but it's not quite there yet, at least in the games of bigger importance. So we'll see about that. And Kostulas, again, Kostulas missed a couple of chances, but as I said on Twitter, everything social wise is down below in the description. Do go like and subscribe if you like what you see in general. And make sure to check out Twitter and Instagram, especially, and message me and comment everything and anything you want, of course. I am thinking of doing a Q&A stream soon. So if you all have any questions, drop them either in the comment section or DM me or comment on a post I'll surely make. Uh, Take care, my friend, and thank you. Uh, so yeah, as I said on Twitter, insane, insane to think, and you just have to stand here and be proud when you think that the team in its 100 years, in its 100-year anniversary, is represented by such a golden age of academy players. And when you stand and watch Kostulas and Musakitis, no matter what's happening in the game, it's such a blessing to watch these two play, honestly. Such an absolute blessing to watch these two play. And before I talk about uh, Medilibar, first of all, of course, we know that the semi-final will be against Ike. Ike, who we have dispatched this season quite easily as well. Uh, if you want to see how that looked uh, inside the stadium, I was there for that 4-1 victory. Do go check out the vlog. It's backlogged and there should be a playlist regarding the vlogs. And yeah, as I said before on the insane treble question, I'm confident that we'll get it done, but it's for sure not going to be as easy as Panathinaikos, and everyone will have to be relatively at the top of their game, especially with not only three derbies in a week, but building into the playoffs when the games happen. I don't remember the date exactly right now, and having Europe looming around as well. Of course, we'll know more by then, and yeah, that's about it from what I wanted to say uh, for the cup. But I wanted to give some special props as well to the one and only Jose Luis Mendilibar before I get into a slight touch upon the league that's following, the two league games that are following. What this man has done in less than a year is insane, and what this man is doing with this squad is even more insane. And the least he deserves is to be in the conversation for, if not the one of our greatest coaches of all time. And I said this back when we won the Conference League that I can't wait to see how much history will write with him leading us. And it seems like we're going to write even more history than we expected. But yeah, moving on to the league. Asteras and Panathinaikos are our next two games, if I'm not terribly mistaken. Let me actually go see. Um, Please load. I'm not mistaken. It's Olympiacos against Asteras, so it's Asteras at home on the 9th, and on the 16th, it's Panathinaikos away. Both 5 p.m. kickoffs. and both games that are a must win. I don't think that, especially with the lower league games, I don't think that there is really any games that aren't a must win anymore heading into the finals, into the final stretch of the regular season. And I think that Mendy will manage rotation perfectly with a very tough schedule coming up the closer we get to the playoffs. And um, I think we'll dispatch those quite easily. And again, let's take it game by game. This season can prove to be more successful than any of us sat down and expected. That's about it for today. Bit of a quicker one, but except that I am solo, it is also 10 past midnight here, and I don't want to just bore you all with blabbering on and on. So, as I close, I just want to fully congratulate the volleyball team for winning the Super Cup against Milan. I really want to report more on the Erasitechni. I actively watch the Erasitechni water polo, volleyball, and handball, especially. But I just get lost in the reports. I promise to make an effort as time passes to report more on that as well. I'm grateful to you all, and I'm trying to improve the quality of the show in every aspect that I can. For example, with the match days that I've sat my ass down and made them more and more unique and different every time. And I'm just grateful for all of your support. I really am. For example, like talking, messaging David Fuster, responding to David Fuster, for example, is just a fever dream. Or Giovanni liking man of the post is a fever dream. Omar, Costas, those are all insane, and I'm sure greater and greater things will come and give everything to all of you back tenfold. After all, this show is by a fan, by a lifelong Olympiacos fan, for fans. And as cheesy as it sounds, voice to the voiceless. And as much as I'll do my best to represent myself as best as I can, I'll do my best to represent you all as best as I can as well. See you all on my socials tomorrow and live here on Friday. If all goes well, of course. Keep you all updated. Thank you. Have a great night.